Welcome to my channel FemVision. I never thought a simple curiosity could spiral into something so intense. My name is Alex Carter, a 22-year-old college student with a knack for graphic design and a taste for adventure that sometimes got me into trouble. By day I was just another face in the university crowd, quiet, polite, and mostly unremarkable. But by night I had a secret life. I loved exploring femininity, experimenting with makeup, hairstyles, and fashion, pushing boundaries I'd always kept hidden. It wasn't about becoming someone else. It was about discovering sides of myself that the world would never accept if they knew. My fascination started innocuously enough. A borrowed lipstick here, a snug blouse there, experimenting in front of my bedroom mirror, pretending I was someone else entirely. The thrill of transformation. The soft brush of powder against my cheek, the unfamiliar sway of my hips, was intoxicating. But it was always private, confined to the four walls of my small apartment, hidden from everyone who knew the real me. Everything changed when Isabella entered my life. She was sharp, independent, and endlessly curious. I met her in the student lounge while working on a design project, and her laughter had a warmth that felt dangerous. Dangerous because she was perceptive. She saw through pretenses, through the walls I carefully constructed around myself. And I couldn't help but want her to see the real me, though I was terrified of what that meant. Our relationship started slow, tentative. I was cautious, careful not to reveal too much, afraid of judgment. But Isabella had a way of nudging boundaries, of making me feel safe while simultaneously challenging me. She teased me endlessly about style and presentation, and I found myself laughing nervously as she critiqued my choices, not knowing that she was unknowingly drawing me closer to the life I'd secretly fantasized about. The catalyst for my biggest transformation, however, came in the most unexpected way. One evening, while scrolling through social media, I discovered a flyer for a new workshop at the Trans Academy, a progressive institution that celebrated identity exploration and transformation. They were offering a male-to-female makeover program, promising full guidance on fashion, makeup, and confidence-building exercises. The words "discover your feminine potential" and "walk confidently in your new persona" practically leapt off the page. My heart raced. It was everything I had ever dreamed of in a single experience. Guidance, education, and an opportunity to fully embrace the side of myself I had only dared explore behind closed doors. But the thought of attending, stepping out of my apartment, being seen in public as someone I barely recognized, it terrified me. Yet curiosity, that relentless spark that had guided me through countless secret experiments, won out. I signed up. And then I told Isabella. Her reaction was more complicated than I had anticipated. There was surprise, yes, but also a hint of mischief in her eyes. "You're really going to do it?" she asked, teasing but serious. "Step out of your comfort zone completely?" I think so," I admitted, trying to sound braver than I felt. "I want to see what it feels like, to really be me, or at least the part of me that's always been hidden." Isabella smiled, leaning closer. "Well, if you go, I want to see the results. And don't hold back. Show me the full transformation." That was all the encouragement I needed. My imagination ran wild. I pictured myself in a soft, flowing dress, makeup applied flawlessly, every detail accentuating my feminine features. I envisioned walking confidently through the academy, catching glimpses of curious glances, feeling both terrified and exhilarated at the attention. It was everything I had secretly wanted. But reality, as I was about to discover, would be far more intense. The morning of the workshop I could barely sleep. My mind raced with anticipation and nerves. The thought of the other participants, the instructors, and the idea of being observed in every stage of transformation made my stomach twist with anxious excitement. I kept imagining myself in high heels, struggling to find balance at first, then slowly growing accustomed to the rhythm, the sway. The idea of makeup brushes gliding over my face, of my features softening under the careful guidance of professional artists, made my pulse quicken. When I finally arrived at Trans Academy, the building itself was inviting, vibrant, and buzzing with creativity. Walls painted in warm pastel hues, mirrors strategically placed to reflect light and create depth, and a lounge area filled with students chatting and laughing. It was a world away from the quiet, reserved life I led outside. I felt a pang of nerves but also a spark of excitement that I hadn't felt in years. And then it happened. I stepped into the makeover room. Mirrors lined every wall, reflecting infinite versions of myself, and makeup stations were meticulously organized. Stylists moved with practiced ease, and for the first time, I felt the possibility of becoming someone else entirely. Or maybe just finally becoming all of me. Isabella's voice came through my mind like a whisper. Show me the full transformation. I took a deep breath. My hands trembled as I reached for the first brush, the first cosmetic, and the first piece of fabric that would change everything. And as I looked into the mirror, seeing Alex fade and Emily emerge, I realized that nothing would ever be the same again. The adventure I had dreamed of, the thrill I had secretly desired, was no longer confined to my bedroom. It was real, tangible, and terrifyingly public. Little did I know the workshop would go viral. What started as a personal journey of exploration would turn into a spectacle that the academy, social media, and thousands of strangers couldn't stop talking about. And that was only the beginning. The first day at Trans Academy felt surreal, like stepping into a dream I wasn't sure I deserved. The air smelled faintly of perfume and hair products, a subtle sweetness that immediately set my nerves on edge. Every corner of the studio reflected light from the vast mirrors, amplifying the sense that I was being watched even when I wasn't. I knew I wasn't alone. Other participants were scattered around, each at different stages of their transformations, chatting nervously or checking themselves in the mirrors. I followed my instructor, a warm yet commanding stylist named Clarissa, to my station. She had sharp eyes that missed nothing and a presence that both reassured and intimidated. "Ready to start?" she asked, her voice firm but kind. I nodded, even though my hands were trembling slightly. My heart was racing, a mix of exhilaration and dread. The first step was makeup, the foundation, contouring, and highlighting. Clarissa guided me patiently, her fingers deftly brushing powder across my cheekbones. The sensation was strange at first, foreign, and yet oddly comforting. I was seeing a version of myself I had only dared imagine. With every stroke of the brush, I felt a subtle shift, not just in appearance but in emotion. My posture straightened. My chest lifted. I could feel my confidence building, even as a small, nagging voice in the back of my mind warned me of how exposed I truly was. "You have a naturally feminine face," Clarissa commented, applying a delicate shade of lipstick that made my lips feel unreal. "You'll catch a lot of attention, so be prepared." Dang. The word echoed in my mind. I was terrified, but I couldn't deny that part of me craved it. I wanted to see if I could pull it off, to feel what it was like to be recognized not as Alex, but as Emily, the fully realized female version of myself. Once the makeup was finished, Clarissa moved on to the outfit selection. Rows of dresses in every style and color imaginable lined the racks. I felt like a child in a candy store, overwhelmed but entranced. I hesitated, my fingers brushing over soft fabrics. A short, flowy dress caught my eye. It was pink with delicate lace at the hem. The second I held it against my body, I shivered. The thought of wearing it in public, walking through the academy, even posing for photos, made my stomach twist. "You like that one?" Clarissa asked. "Yes," I whispered. I want to try it." She smiled knowingly. "Good choice. It suits you. Let's see how you feel once it's on." Changing into the dress felt like stepping through a portal. The fabric hugged my form in ways I had only ever imagined. I adjusted it nervously, spinning slightly to see the reflection in the mirror. Emily was emerging fully now, soft, elegant, and undeniably feminine. My own reflection was almost a stranger, yet it felt closer to who I truly was inside. The next step was shoes, high heels. I had practiced at home before, but nothing prepared me for the heightened sensation of balance, the subtle strain on my calves, the way my posture instinctively adapted to the unfamiliar height. Clarissa guided me, coaching my stride until I could walk confidently. Each step was thrilling, empowering, and terrifying all at once. But the transformation wasn't just physical. Emotionally, I was walking a tightrope. Every time I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror, a wave of doubt crashed over me. Was this really me? Would Isabella understand this side of me? Was I overstepping some invisible line? The academy buzzed with energy around me. Cameras discreetly mounted on walls captured every stage, both for instructional purposes and for participants who wanted a record of their transformation. Unbeknownst to me, a few clips would soon end up online, setting off a chain reaction that I couldn't imagine yet. Clarissa introduced me to the finishing touches: jewelry, hairstyling, and even posture coaching. Each adjustment, each delicate placement of an earring or curl of my hair, made Emily more real. I could feel the persona settling into my body, my movements aligning with my reflection. Then came the challenge. Clarissa directed me to the confidence corridor, a long hallway lined with mirrors and cameras. The exercise was simple yet nerve-wracking. Walk through the corridor as Emily, maintaining poise and grace, fully embodying the character I had become. My pulse raced as I stepped onto the polished floor. Heels clicking with every step, hips swaying instinctively. I felt eyes, real and imagined, on me. At first I stumbled slightly, unsure of the rhythm. Then a calmness settled in. This was who I was now, at least in this moment. Every nerve ending tingled with excitement and vulnerability. "Beautiful," Clarissa called from the end of the corridor. "Own it, Emily." And I did. But the thrill of transformation brought a new layer of anxiety. What if someone from my real life saw me like this? The thought of Isabella seeing me not as Alex but fully as Emily made my heart pound. And yet, a part of me wanted her to see, to acknowledge this hidden side. By the end of the first day I was physically exhausted but emotionally electrified. I had never felt so exposed, so alive, so entirely me. The academy was a playground of possibility, a space where identity could be tested and expressed without judgment. And yet I couldn't shake the lingering fear of exposure, the knowledge that a single misstep, a casual photograph, could reveal everything. Later, in the quiet of my apartment, I replayed the day over and over in my mind. Emily felt alive, vibrant, undeniable. But so did my fear. The dichotomy between exhilaration and vulnerability was intoxicating, addictive even. And then, without warning, the viral moment arrived. A clip of my first walk down the confidence corridor surfaced online. My transformation, captured in motion, became an overnight sensation. Comments flooded in. Some admiring, some incredulous, some downright mocking. But I couldn't look away. The world had seen Emily before I was ready to fully introduce her. My phone buzzed incessantly. Notifications from strangers, friends, even classmates. Some recognized me instantly. Others were mesmerized by the transformation. And somewhere in the storm of messages, I felt a thrill deeper than anything before. The knowledge that Emily existed not just in my apartment or in my imagination but in the eyes of the world. I realized, with a shiver that ran down my spine, that this was only the beginning. The transformation had begun, but the stakes had escalated. Emily wasn't just a private exploration anymore. She was public, viral, and completely irreversible. And somewhere in the back of my mind I knew Isabella would find out. How she would react remained a terrifying and tantalizing mystery. The next morning my phone was buzzing relentlessly. Every notification felt like a tiny shock. A reminder that Emily had escaped the private confines of the academy and exploded into the public eye. Social media was alive with clips of my transformation. My first walk down the confidence corridor, my hesitant smile, the way my hips swayed in the pink lace dress. People were calling me stunning, mesmerizing, even unrecognizable. And yet, buried under the praise were taunts, incredulous comments, and the occasional cruel jab about my identity. I sat on the edge of my bed, heels still on from the day before, staring at the screen. My hands trembled, not entirely from fear but from exhilaration. Part of me thrilled at the attention, loved the validation. Another part panicked at the thought of being exposed. Isabella. My thoughts immediately snapped to her. She had no idea about Emily. How would she react to seeing me transformed, not just as a girl but as a viral sensation? Before I could spiral completely, there was a knock at the door. My heart leapt into my throat. "Alex." "It's me," a voice called, warm, curious, slightly suspicious. I froze. "Isabella." My pulse accelerated. I had no time to change back, no time to hide the phone or the heels scattered across the floor. Yeah, coming." I managed to shout, my voice cracking slightly. I opened the door, forcing a casual smile. Isabella stepped inside, eyes scanning the room. She noticed the shoes first, heels I had worn just yesterday, and then the dress hanging neatly over a chair. Her brow furrowed, curiosity piqued. "Alex, what's going on here?" she asked, her voice calm but her eyes sharp. I swallowed hard. It's just a project from the academy," I stammered, trying to sound casual. "You know, costume and makeup practice." Isabella's eyes narrowed slightly. "A project? In heels and a dress?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed again. A notification from one of the viral clips. The transformation of the century. Alex is now Emily. #TransAcademy #Makeover Magic. I froze. She saw the notification. Her eyes widened, scanning the screen. Emily, she whispered, a mix of shock and curiosity in her tone. The room felt impossibly small, every heartbeat amplified. I realized I had two options: confess fully or continue to evade the truth. I don't know what to say, I admitted finally. It's me. Emily is me. Isabella's gaze softened slightly, but there was a tension in the air, a mix of surprise, confusion, and unspoken questions. I mean, it looks incredible, she said cautiously, a small smile forming. But why didn't you tell me? I shrugged, feeling a mixture of shame and relief. I wasn't ready. And then, it went viral. I didn't know how to stop it. She stepped closer, examining the carefully applied makeup, the delicate lace of the dress, the way my posture had shifted into something undeniably feminine. It's you, but also not entirely you, she murmured almost to herself. Before I could respond, there was another knock at the door. My stomach dropped. Delivery for Alex, signature required, a voice called. I panicked. Who else knew? Who was about to see me like this? I tried to think quickly. Could I hide? Could I change? But the heels slowed my movements, the dress restricted my mobility. I was trapped in every sense of the word. Isabella noticed my panic. What is it? She asked. It's just a delivery, I said quickly, forcing a smile. You can wait outside for a second? She nodded, but her curiosity didn't fade. I rushed to the door, trying to mask the nervous sway of my hips. When I opened it, the delivery man held a package too large to hide. Sign here, he said, and I signed with trembling fingers. Once the door closed, I exhaled shakily, heart pounding. The adrenaline was intoxicating, and for a moment I reveled in it. Emily was real, undeniable, and utterly exposed. Then the phone buzzed again. A new notification. A comment on the viral clip from someone I didn't recognize. Well, Alex, or should I say Emily, you're amazing. Can't believe this is real. But wait, is this permanent? The question hit me like a punch to the gut. Permanent. The thought of fully committing to Emily, of living as her in public, terrified me, but also thrilled me in a way I hadn't expected. I turned to Isabella, who was now observing me closely, a mixture of concern and fascination in her eyes. What do we do? I asked quietly, almost pleading. She hesitated, then smiled gently. We figure it out. Together. Relief washed over me, but it was fleeting. I knew this was just the beginning. The viral attention, the constant scrutiny, the public curiosity. Emily's life was no longer private. Every choice from this point on would be a balancing act between fear, desire, and the thrill of transformation. The next few hours were a blur. Isabella helped me adjust the dress, fix a fallen curl in my hair, and even practice walking more gracefully in the heels. Every step was a lesson in confidence. Every glance in the mirror a reminder that Emily was no longer just a persona. She was alive. By the end of the day, I had posted my own video, embracing the viral moment fully. Comments poured in. Some supportive, some questioning, some incredulous. But beneath it all, I felt a sense of empowerment I had never experienced before. Emily wasn't just a temporary experiment anymore. She was a part of me, ready to navigate the complex, thrilling, and terrifying world that awaited. And somewhere in the back of my mind, a quiet, persistent thought lingered. How long before Isabella, or the world, would challenge me? How long before Emily's reality collided with the life I had known as Alex? The tension was palpable, the stakes higher than ever, and the thrill of being trapped in this transformation, high heels, makeup, and dresses, was intoxicating. Emily had arrived, and the world would have to catch up. The evening had settled over the academy, painting the room in soft amber light. Emily, me, stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the straps of the pink lace dress one last time. Every reflection seemed to mock me, showing a version of myself I had only dared to imagine in secret. The heels clicked softly against the floor as I paced, a rhythmic reminder that there was no turning back tonight. Isabella sat quietly on the edge of the bed, her eyes following every movement. There was a strange mix of curiosity, admiration, and worry in her gaze. You look incredible, she murmured, but there was an unspoken question hanging in the air. How much of Alex was left beneath Emily's polished exterior? Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. Another notification from the viral clip. I hesitated, then opened it. My heart skipped a beat. The latest comment wasn't supportive. It was a challenge. Emily looks amazing. But how long before the real Alex comes back? A shiver ran down my spine. The world was watching and I was trapped between two identities, one public and dazzling, the other private and familiar. I wanted to run, to shed the dress and the makeup and retreat into Alex's life, but a part of me, an intoxicating, thrilling part, didn't want to. A sudden knock at the door made me jump. My pulse raced. Alex, can we talk? Isabella's voice was soft but insistent. I froze, heels pinching my feet, the dress clinging tightly around my torso. This was the moment of truth. Do I confess everything? Or do I try to hide Emily even from her? Before I could decide, the door creaked open on its own. I spun around. Nobody was there, just a small envelope slipped under the door. My fingers trembled as I picked it up. The handwriting was unfamiliar. Elegant, precise, and chilling. Read. Enjoy your new life, Emily. But remember, someone is always watching. A cold wave of fear mixed with excitement washed over me. Someone new. Someone beyond the academy, beyond Isabella, beyond my control. My secret life as Emily wasn't just public. It was being monitored, scrutinized, manipulated. Isabella noticed the envelope and stepped closer. Who's it from? She asked, her voice low. I don't know, I admitted, my voice barely a whisper. But they know. Her eyes widened. Know what? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed again. Another message, this time a video attachment. I tapped it and my stomach dropped. On the screen was a live feed of the room. Our room. Emily in full transformation, standing frozen. The camera angle was perfect, as if someone had been waiting to capture every detail. Who's watching us? Isabella gasped, stepping back. I couldn't answer. I didn't know. And in that instant, the thrill and terror of being Emily hit me fully. High heels, makeup, dresses, they weren't just attire. They were chains binding me to a reality I hadn't chosen but couldn't escape. I backed up slowly, my reflection in the mirror merging Alex and Emily into one fractured image. The person staring back at me was no longer just a boy or a girl, just Alex or Emily. They were both and neither. My heart pounded. My hands shook. The envelope lay at my feet, the phone screen glowing ominously. Isabella reached for me, her hand gentle on my arm. We'll figure this out, she said, but I could hear the doubt in her voice. Even she didn't fully understand the storm we were in. A final notification appeared on my phone. Ready to play the next game, Emily? The words made my chest tighten. My secret life had exploded into a spectacle, and the real danger wasn't the viral fame, the public scrutiny, or even Isabella's reaction. It was whoever was orchestrating this from the shadows. I looked at Isabella, then at the mirror, then back at the glowing screen. My body trembled, heels pinching, makeup smudging slightly from sweat. I realized something terrifying. Tonight nothing was safe. Not my identity, not my secrets, not even my feelings. And yet, a part of me, Emily, throbbed with excitement, with thrill, with the undeniable rush of being seen, desired, and powerful. The camera's soft blinking light reflected in my eyes, mirroring the two worlds I now inhabited. One known, one unknown, one private, one public. I took a shaky breath, realizing there was no going back. Not tonight. Not ever. And then a faint whisper came from the darkness of the room, just at the edge of hearing. You can't hide anymore. Emily. I froze. My heart raced. Every muscle tensed. The thrill, the fear, the suspense. It was unbearable, intoxicating, and utterly consuming. The screen blinked again. The envelope lay open at my feet. The shadows in the room seemed to shift. Isabella's hand tightened on mine. I had no idea what would happen next. And that was exactly the point.